question. Somebody give me Romans 13 and 11. I have a question. It's a rival car, man. Give me Romans 13 and 11.
Khan, this is the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep.
Brother, you need a water? Thank you.
You guys
Okay, I think.
Hey, I'm just following orders. Let me get one of those slow motion pictures, bro. One of the slow motion pictures.
You gotta shoot at 60 frames per second.
Come on,
They say they wanna hear that raw shit. These niggas claiming that they bullshit. These niggas better move and coach shit. As if they make the wrong move and coach shit. You see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my way up and they ain't gon' stop it. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. Coming up, I'm about to bullshit. They see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my body, real niggas right beside me. Damn right, I brought my army, going up like a rocket, and can't nobody stop me. These niggas garbage, so watch your mouth, boy. Coming all black, slithering house, call me mouth, boy. I'm off the hip like a cowboy. I'm a king, you should bow, boy. So they like, damn, man, you cut up. Nothing I can handle. 144 in the booth, going Rambo. Niggas do you dirty like a stick in a bando. That's why I play the corner like a bum with a banjo. I'ma lead by example. Ooh, keep on sobbing, got this bitch off the hand, got this juice, got the drip, about to hit the bitch with the salt. It ain't rap, it's assault. Can't taste a bitch unless you with the coke. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. These niggas claiming that they bullshit. These niggas better move and coach shit. As if they make the wrong move and coach shit.
One way, one way, one way, one way, one way.
Coming up on my I do it how a veteran be. You better than me. I'm Reggie at the edge of the key. It's all money, no honey. Think you settling? See, you locked up, fucked up, and it's back to the streets. It's One West. You can check the residency. I reside with soldiers died on the soles of their feet. Cause it's death before designer. Ain't no coward in me. Cause I'm cold as a bitch's shoulder. You ain't calling a week. Get the cooking on this beat. Hope you like it well done. Got them killers rolling with me and they all red rum, red rum, red rum. Got you fuckers scared some. Get the banging on this beat till my fucking head numb. Black Glock, red drum, black and yellow air ones. Homie, you ain't got a vest. I suggest you wear one.
Told these niggas we was going up. They was doing a lot of talking. Now these niggas ain't saying shit.
Feeling like a legend in this shit. Lil nigga, I'm past veteran. Never feeling third. Lil nigga, I'm past second. Guns, I gotta have them all like Ash Ketchum. Shotty break a nigga ribs up like his wife left him. We all stepping. Kill you with kindness cause I'm dead nice. That 5'7" put you 6 feet, not talking height. That judge giving out 5, but you doing life. These hands are rude GPS. A mean right. That's mean right. We build different, you know the vibes. And we stamped it authentic, we notarized. I keep a 144 because I know a kind. Noah's Ark, you know I'm with animals when we flowing by. We back again, no cap, when I'm with Cap again. Yeah, they say they want smoking, so we matching them. Everything righteous, so you know when we get back at them, you get hit up with a K, but no acronym. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. These niggas claiming that they bullshit. These niggas better move and coach shit. As if they make the wrong move and coach shit. You see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my way up and they ain't gon' stop it. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. Coming up, I'm about to bullshit.
I think we got
Let's go. Get up. It's that club, you hear that? You can't sit down to that. Okay.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy, Sheik Luch, LOXD Block, Silverback. Hey, yo, right now I need to shout out the ISUPK classes.
I want to give a huge, big, humongous shout out to all the UPK schools.
Shout out to Black Watch, hosted by General Johanna. Word, I need y'all to check out Cross the Line Radio as well, man. They've been open all week from 7 to 9. They ain't shut down because of the corona, the COVID and all that. They rockin' strong, you know what I mean?
Think we got a problem, but really it ain't though. It's one of me and these bitches, I count about 3, 4. Think we got a problem, but homie just all talk. He ain't gon' pop a balloon with a pitchfork. Nah, think we got a problem in the club with this dog. Rude boys, dogs, ladies, everybody. Yo, shit, what they want.
Yeah. That's right. It is the ISUPK. That's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of Harlem, New York, since 1969 under the commanding General Johanna. And we are sent out to teach the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native American people that we are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. All right. We are the ones we are the descendants of Moses. Right. We are the ones that was prophesied in the scriptures by being disobedient to the laws, the statutes, and the commandments that we will go into captivity. All right. Before I get started in the class, I'd like to send a big shout out to Captain Mawa Quad for the great hospitality that he showed when we came out into the Midwest Fire Weekend out in Chicago. It was a beautiful city, beautiful school. I mean, beautiful school. I was able to get a lot of ideas from the school. I mean, it was just so glorious. All right. And it was a beautiful thing for me because when I go to these feast days or even the barbecues, it's me walking in heavenly places. Why is it me walking in heavenly places? It's because I'm walking among the brethren. We walking among brotherhood. The brotherhood is, like I said, it's second to none. Brotherhood is second to none. It was just glorious. The food was glorious. All the vendors, glorious. Big shout out to Commanding General Johanna and all of the generals.
Damn right.
It was the barbecue. I had to leave early. When we left the barbecue, I went to the airport, and then we were stuck at the airport until the next day. And then we was able to get on the first flight. It was like, I think we got home like around 4:00, 4:12 or something like that. That's when our flight landed and we got in, but it was a glorious time. We was able to talk to all the brothers, see the sisters. I mean, it was just glorious. But I'm gonna give y'all an example of this wonderful and this glorious brotherhood. So we at the club, right? We at the club, and we come out of the club. And when we come out of the club, we standing outside, just talking, mingling, just hanging out. Now, there was a police officer right there at the front door, all right? And right across the street, there was a black Suburban, all right? I mean, we in Chicago, so somebody started shooting right across the street from the police. You know what the police did? They pulled the fuck off. Salakia. They pulled off. They left us. They pulled us and went down to the corner. And the actual shooter went right past him. Went right past him. But I'm gonna tell you why I brought this story up, right? When the brothers, when Jake started shooting, right? Everybody started trying to shield each other. Like all the brothers was trying to take the bullet for each other. Because Yahushua said, you know, a greatest example of brotherhood is when one lay down his life for his brother. All right, for his people. And that's what the only discrepancy we had between us, we did get into a little argument. It wasn't a major argument, it was a brotherhood argument. But it was a brotherhood argument on who was going to take the bullet. Yeah. Who the one was going to take the bullet? Who the one was going to get this glory? And it was just the whole trip was just glorious. I can't wait to go out to Texas, because I'm gonna go to Texas. I'm gonna go to New York. It was just so glorious. All right. So the next class is on the book of Romans, the epistle of Paul. All right, the epistle of Paul, the apostle to the Romans. Right. Who was this written to? Was this written to Romans, and was this written to Israelites? Now, I'm not going to keep y'all long tonight, right? Not going to keep you long, all right? But how would one prove? How would you prove? How would you show? Because this is a book that a lot of people run to. A lot of Christians run to this book to show that salvation is for the other nations, right? So the first chapter we're going to look, I mean, I'm not even going to break it down by chapter. First, I'm going to ask questions. How could you prove that the book of Romans is written to Gentiles? Now, I'm going to play Christian, and you be you. Let's get it.
God. We're going to start with Romans chapter 9, verse 4.
Okay, so you're gonna take me to Rome. So why you got to take me to Romans 9? That's what they'll say. Why I gotta go to Romans 9? All right, let's go to Romans 9 then. That's how they sound to me. I don't care how deep they voice sound to you, but to me, they sound feminine.
Nah, you ain't lying.
They sound feminine. All right. Christianity make you feminine. It does. It make you very passive. It make you into as one would say, a house nigga. You know what I'm saying? That's what it makes you into. And look, Captain Tazariak said it the best. Christianity is worse than crack. How is that? A crackhead knows he's on crack. He knows he needs help. He know it. And guess what? When he get up and he go out and he or she go out and do whatever they're doing to get that crack, they know it's wrong. They don't really want to do it, but they got to feed their desire, right? A Christian don't know that. A Christian don't know that. That's why they're so dangerous. They have no clue the heavy sedation and the heavy drug they're on. They have no clue at all. None. They think everything is normal, and they actually think they are above you from the actual drug, from this delusion that they're under. That it is. It's a real illness. I want another thing. Listen, the camp spot in Chicago. Hey, listen, great. I mean, the camp spot was just and you could just blaze all day. I can actually go and blaze all day. I can do a 5-hour shift up there. Right up there just talking, because it's constant people coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's a mixture. It's a melting pot. It's a melting pot. So once again, I just want to give a big shout out to the generals and to Captain Mawquad for the excellent brotherhood that we experienced. All right. So now the book of Romans. All right, I'm at Romans 9.
Romans 9, verse 4.
Okay, Romans 9, verse 4.
It started off just like this.
Go ahead.
And it says, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of God, and the promises. Whose, verse 5, whose are the fathers, and of whom are concerning the flesh Christ came.
All right. So now I'm you done?
Nope.
Okay, that's how. Look, there you go. You're done. Go ahead.
Who is over all, God bless forever. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, I don't see what you see. Because first of all, in verse 4, it says this: who are Israelites? So it's asking the question: who are Israelites?
I'll give you that.
All right. Go, wait a minute now. That's how this. Wait a minute. So it's
I'll explain the bloodline first.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then Abraham was given the promise,
Right.
and his seed would be blessed after him.
Right.
After Abraham, he had a son.
Right.
His name was Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
After that, he had two sons.
Right.
Whose names were Jacob and Esau.
Okay.
But the promise in the covenant was given unto Jacob, not Esau. Esau being the so-called Edomites.
Well, the Christian gonna say, I don't care about the Old Testament. I'm talking about right here what you read in Romans 9 and 4. Romans 9 and 4 is asking a question: who are the Israelites? To whom pertaineth the adoption? Listen, you can adopt people all the time. You can adopt people all the time. Matter of fact, my cousin went down and adopted a white kid and gave the white kid our last name and everything. And now the white kid is a part of our family. What are you talking about? This is why I don't deal with Israelites. That's what they'll say. So how would you prove Romans 4 without a doubt? Now, I'm not saying you're.
I'm gonna give it to him in the New Testament too.
All right, but I want you to break this down. Do you have something to show me how someone can be adopted? Let me take over for 1 second. Look, I want y'all to understand, when y'all dealing with this book, right? Precepts is everything. The precepts is the only way you're going to, without a doubt, be solid on the answer. All right. So the first thing I would do is, if I'm showing it in this right here, now I wouldn't have went here first. But because you went here first, we're going to deal with this first, right? How would you show who's pertaining the adoption? How would you show that?
Romans 11.
Okay, Romans 11 and verse 1 going to show me the adoption. Let's see it.
I say then, hath God cast away his people?
Mm-hmm.
God forbid. For I also am an Israelite,
Right.
of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Verse 2, God had not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel?
Right.
Saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
Okay, so but that's still a Christian is going to challenge you on that all day. They're going to challenge you on that one. I'm telling you right now, they're going to challenge you on that one, because they're going to say, well, that still is not showing the adoption. That's what they're going to say. How would you prove the adoption? That's the question. It says in Romans 9 and 4, who are the Israelites? So a Christian will say that's a question. And it says adoption process takes place. How would you know? Let me see if anybody online in the chat know. Will anybody in the chat know what scripture would you go to prove who the adoption is for? Now, I'm this is solid, but give me a precept for it. Anybody in the chat? Matthew 15 to 24. I mean, is the word adoption in there?
No, but it shows you who Yahushua said.
I agree. But the word adoption, look, understand, when you're dealing with Christians, to shut it down, show them what they seeing. So what they seeing is to whom pertaineth the adoption. So who the adoption is pertaining to. I'm going to give you a precept. You see anybody in the chat? Nobody in the chat? All right, let's get it. Please look, Bubba Kashaw, write down this precept right with this. All right. Ephesians 4:18. Let's get it. I mean, Salakia, 4 and let's see. Hold on. Oh, give me a sec. Galatians 4:5. Is that where you wanted to go?
I was going to go Ephesians 2:14-15, but that's
right. There's another one for the adoption. Look, the best way to deal with anybody. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to argue with you after you give them this precept. I'm not saying that. But they're going to argue when you give them that precept anyway. Salakia for 1 minute. Hey, yo, stay out my closet, Stay out my closet, This guy, we wind up always wearing the same shirt. All right. So look. So the question is, what's the scripture for pertaining to adoption? So this is the precept that you would give them. Give it to me.
Ephesians 4:5. To redeem them that were under the law.
Who was under the law? Now, who was under the law?
Israelites.
Christians, most Christians ain't gonna argue with you on that note. Okay? Most Christians not gonna argue with you on who was under the law. But you have these weird dudes like what's this vocab Malone and all them. They can philosophize the scriptures, but we're gonna break this down a little bit more. Right. But this is the precept that you would take with this. Galatians 4:5. Read it again from the top.
Galatians chapter 4:5.
Come on.
To redeem them that were under the law.
To redeem them that was under the law. Read.
That we might receive the adoption.
Might see what?
That we may receive the adoption.
That we may receive the adoption of sons. So you know what jumps out? The word adoption. So now you got their ear. They're like, oh, okay, well, a Christian, I'm talking about just a regular Christian going to say, yeah, the Old Testament was for the Israelites and the New Testament is for everybody. But you have these, what do they call apologetic? These apologists. These guys, they philosophize it. So they'll go and say, well, Caleb was the Israel, was a Esau, and Job was Esau. Just say anything, right? So this is how you would deal with that. You would go to Hebrews 9:15 for those that was under the law. Remember, it says the ones that was under the law, those are the ones that can be redeemed by adoption. Read 9:15.
Hebrews 9:15.
Come on.
And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament.
So now for this cause, it's talking about Yahushua. He's the mediator of the new covenant. Well, what's a mediator? A mediator is a particular party someone that's between two parties that's not getting along. So he becomes like a bridge. He becomes like the mediator. He becomes like the one that's talking to this side and talking to this side and trying to get the two sides to come together. So Yahushua, read that again.
And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament.
Come on.
That by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament.
That was what? Read it from the top.
And for the cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament.
So Yahushua, for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament. Come on.
That by means of death.
By his death, by him going to that cross, read.
For the redemption of transgressions that were under the first testament.
So see, for those that was under the first testament. Who was under the first testament? The Israelites. Then you can go a little bit deeper. You can hit like Hebrews 8:8. And you can go from 8 through 11, where it shows the covenant. But they're going to still argue with you. All right. But let's go back to Romans. Let's go back to Romans. So it says, who are the Israelites? So the question, it's a question, but a statement. To who pertaineth the adoption. So you show who the adoption was for, right? Well, what about the glory? Ooh, what about the glory? What about the glory? How would you prove the glory? If you don't have it, I can give it to you. I can give you a precept for it. You pulled it, so the Christian is going to badger you on it. But if you break this thing all the way down, where is no argument with precepts, even though it says what it says, but we're going to give precepts to drive that thing home. So to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory? You want me to give it to you? John 7, we're going to start John 17 and 9. John 17 and 9. Now I'm gonna give you got that what? All right, let's get it.
John chapter 17, verse 9.
Read.
I pray for them.
I pray for them. So this is Yahweh Shah Mashiach, and he's actually saying, I pray for them. Read.
I pray not for the world.
I pray not for who?
I pray not for the world.
I pray not for the world. So this will be a cut for John 3:16, saying God loved the world, that he sent his son to save the whole world. He's saying here, I pray for them. I pray not for the world. Read.
But for them which thou hast given.
Which thou, only for those which thou hast given them. Who has given it? The Father. The Father has given him who? Israel. We're going to prove it. Read.
For they are thine.
They are who?
They are thine.
Go ahead.
And all mine are thine.
Come on.
And thine are mine.
Come on.
And I am glorified in them.
So he is glorified in them. Read.
And now I am no more in the world.
Come on.
But these are in the world.
Come on.
And I am come to thee, Holy Father. Keep through thine own name those who thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. That
they may be one as we are. So that's that glory, right? The glory and the honor of doing the work and the service for the Lord. All right. So if you was to go up, right, in that same chapter, just to prove what I'm saying, go to verse 1.
John chapter 17, verse 1.
Come on.
These words spake Yahushua, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee.
Right, read.
As thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him.
Come on.
And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Yahweh HaMashiach.
Come on.
Whom thou hast sent.
Come on.
I have glorified thee on the earth.
I have what?
I have glorified thee on the earth.
Come on.
I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do.
Come on.
And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was.
So this is the reason why he's saying, I pray not, I pray for them, that thou hast given them. And now they could be all one. That's the heavy part. The heavy part of that, John 17 is verse 11, when it says, and now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee, Holy Father, keep through thy own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are one. So that glory is the kingdom. The glory is only to the Israelites. And then you will pull Matthew 15 and 24 to show who those them are. Where it says, I pray for them. I pray not for the world. I only pray for those whom thou hast given me. Then you'll pull the one that you're talking about, Matthew 24. I come not but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. All right. All right. So let's go back. I know you got this one right here. So we dealt with adoption. We dealt with glory. Now we got to deal with covenants. Notice what it says. Covenants. More than one covenant. How would you deal with covenants.
Old Testament.
Okay, well, listen, if you want to take me to the Old Testament, the Christian going to say, well, I'll go with the Old. Let me see what you got. Let me see your best shot. Let me see your best move. Let me see your best move. The covenants. Anybody in the chat? How would you show Romans 9:4? How would you show that these, without a doubt, it's talking to the Israelites? All right. We dealt with adoption. We dealt with glory. Now we're dealing with covenant. It's Romans 9:4. Who are the Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants, right? And the giving of the law and the services of the Most High power and the promises. How would we deal with that? Covenants. Give it to me. You got it? Where you at? Remember, this says covenants. So the Christian gonna say, remember, there's two covenants. You got the old covenant, which is for the Israelites, and then you got the new covenant, which is for everybody. Cut him. I cut him. I'm gonna call. Okay, so look, watch this. I'm gonna give you. You in Exodus? All right. Now I'm gonna give you two different places. All right. The first one I'm gonna give you is Hebrews 8, because I said it earlier. Hebrews 8:8. Go to that. I'm gonna give you two of them, right? Because remember, it says covenants. Doesn't just say covenant, it says covenants, right? And look, this right here is such a heavy cut right here. This is such a heavy cut because watch what it does and watch how it just shows without a doubt it can only be talking to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Hebrews 8:8, read.
Hebrews 8, verse 8.
Come on.
For finding fault with them.
For finding fault with them. Read.
He said, Behold.
Come on.
The days come, saith the Lord.
Come on.
When I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
So when it says, read it from the top again.
For finding fault with them.
So when it says finding fault with them, the them is the house of Israel and the house of Judah. So he says, finding fault with them, with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Read.
He said,
come on.
Behold.
Come on.
The days come.
Read.
Saith the Lord.
Read.
When I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel.
So it's saying, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. Right? Read.
And with the house of Judah.
And with the house of Judah. So the new covenant is with who?
The house of Israel.
And
the house of Judah.
That's so important. You really can't get around that. All right. A covenant would be similar to what? What would you use similar to a covenant to explain to a Christian? What would be similar to the best thing to use similar to a covenant would be a contract.
Right.
So it's saying the contract is between the house of Israel and the house of Judah. But this is the new covenant. What about the old one? Okay, but it says covenants. So something's going on. It's something. Can't have both of them at the same time. That'll be a conflict of interest. It says covenants.
We'll go down to verse 9.
Let's get it.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the land to lead them out of the land of Egypt.
Oh, okay. So now see how it comes together? Now it's showing you that both covenants is between the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Right? Now, that last statement you said, the old covenant, is it done away with? Right? I'm going to show you something. just to touch on what you said, go to Hebrews, let's see, 8. I think it's 8 and 13.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 13.
Come on.
And that he said, a new covenant. He hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
So which one is it talking about is ready to vanish away? That it was ready to vanish away. Which
old covenant.
The old covenant. All right. So you want to put that in you and never, don't say no, it's not. It is. It gotta be. This is why he said I'm making a new covenant. But he's making a new covenant with the same house of Israel and the house of Judah, because the house of Israel and the house of Judah by this time had broken up into two. All right. Got it? All right. So now we're getting somewhere. You got him on the ropes. And the giving of the law. Now, I know you got that one. The giving of the law. How would you prove who the law was given to? Now, look, always keep in mind, there wasn't a new covenant. There wasn't a New Testament. All right. The New Testament wasn't written. So the only thing they was going by was what? The old covenant. They was going by that and showing from that old covenant, there was a promise made to, before we do the law, right? I want to show you one more thing, because this is the covenant and the law. I'm going to bring them both together in this precept right here. Same precept it's where the precept come from, Hebrews 8 and 8 through 11. That comes from Jeremiah 31 through 36. Now this right here, we could go on and on. Every precept we pull just really smashes the theory of anybody else. But we're going to go where that came from, what Paul was quoting, right? And that's Jeremiah 31 and 31 down to 36. Read.
Jeremiah 31, verse 31.
Read.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
So this is the same thing that Paul said. This is the precept that Paul was pulling. Paul is not doing anything that any of us in the School of Universal Practical Knowledge don't do. What we do is, we do the same thing Paul do. What Paul do, Paul goes and he goes back to the law. Like if you have an issue and you want to be defended by an attorney, you're going to get an attorney that knows what? And how would he know what he's talking about? Studying what? The law. The law. You would get an attorney that knows the law, and that attorney would go back to the law to prove his case. So that's what Paul is doing. So that's Jeremiah 31 and 31, verse 32. Read.
Verse 32. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers, in the day that I looked to them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord.
So that's the same exact thing Paul was saying. Read.
Verse 33. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel.
Come on.
After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts, and write in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. When
it says I will put my law in their inward parts, we know that it's talking about Israel, right? And write it in their hearts. What is it talking about? Right. It would be in their mind. It'll be in their mind, right? Now let me ask you a question. How would this happen? Is this going to happen when Yahweh shall return? Like it's going to snap it like a zap, like a zip, and all of a sudden we're going to be like robots following law? Or like, how does this work? Right. You start to rehearse those righteous acts now. You start to build, like right now we in the gym. It's just like someone that's getting ready for a fight, right? They be in the gym, they working out, they lifting weights, they developing muscle memories. They develop in different ways to move, bob, and weave, right? Different combinations. It becomes a muscle memory. So when a fighter gets into the ring, what he was practicing in the gym, that combination, like bat, 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 and a hook, they're gonna automatically, when they get out there in the real fight, bat, 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 hook, because it becomes a muscle memory. That's how the law is. We began to practice it and rehearse those righteous acts. And by rehearsing those righteous acts, guess what? All of a sudden, when we go to a buffet, I don't do crab. No, I don't do lobster. That's that. That's that muscle memory. That's right here. It's a mind memory. All right. It's an organ. And now you remember it, and now you just don't break the law. So when Yahweh shall come, he's coming for those that was faithful in keeping the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. He's coming for those that rehearse those righteous acts. He's coming for the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge as the leading government in this kingdom, and we're going to get it in order, all right? But the point is, he's going to put that law in our minds and write it in our hearts, right? And will be there. He will be our most high power, right? And they shall be they shall be the most highest people. Salakia. Verse 34.
Verse 34. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them.
So it is no necessary in teaching who?
Neighbors and the brothers.
What neighbors and brothers?
Our fellow.
You talking about the other nations?
No. Our fellow Israelites.
There you go. This is only speaking about the Israelites. Now, will we teach the other nations?
For sure. We
would? Can you give me a precept on that? Hold on. I want y'all to hold that. He's going to give me a precept to show that. Hold on. Let's finish this first. Verse 34. Keep that in mind now. Verse 34.
Saith the Lord, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Read.
Verse 35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night.
Come on.
Which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name.
So it's saying Yahweh, thy power, right? It's talking about Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light, right? He created the moon. He created the sun. He did the ordinances, the stars, all of those to divide the seasons. He created all of those things, right? And he says, Yahweh of hosts is his name, right? Read verse 30. This is the killer. Read. Sidebar. It's still on the same subject. What's this guy named Geno Jennings made my sister called me up, right? My sister called me up and she was so excited. She was like, oh, Geno done did it. The women sound the same as the men to me. So when I do my Christian impersonation of the men and the women, you may get a little mixed up between, but all of them sound feminine to me. The women supposed to sound feminine, but they sound a little bit more masculine than the men, and the men sound a little more feminine than the women. It's a reverse role play. It's crazy as hell, right? But the point is, she was so excited because Geno had responded to the Purple Bandits. He responded to the Purple Bandits, and listen what this guy said. Geno Jennings said that in reality, there is no such thing as a black person that got off them slave ships because everybody was raped. All the women was raped. Yeah, and now we mixed. But listen, Geno don't know about this one right here. He don't know. He don't know about this precept right here, right? So look, in 35 it says, thus saith Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and the stars for a light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. Watch this. Read.
Verse 36. If those ordinances depart but from before me.
So he's saying if the sun, the moon, and the stars, if they depart before me, if they gone away, they departed. Read.
Saith the Lord.
Come on.
Then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me.
Then the what?
Then the seed, Then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever.
Now what you do is you tell the Christian, if you're inside, tell them to go to the window. Tell them to look outside. If it's day or night, it don't matter. Look up. You see stars? You see the sun? You see the moon? Well, guess what? Yahweh said, as long as those are there, so is the seed of Israel. So we can never be vanished. We can never be departed. We can never go away. That sounds silly. Like my sister was in, and you know what? It's a heavy thing about it. When I began to talk to her about it, I said, now think about that. In order for you to get pregnant, you got to be ovulate. We got to get you on that day. You mean tell me he was that crafty? He was like, okay, you're obligated. Okay, I got the date and I'm going to rape you that day. That's not, no. And just because a woman was raped doesn't mean that the woman got pregnant. So to say that all Israel was vanished away and the seed of Israel is no more because of the captivity, that sounds silly. Remember, we went into captivity in Egypt and we still was preserved. We went into captivity in Assyria, we still was preserved. We went to captivity in the Persians and the Medes, we were still preserved. When we went to captivity in the Greek captivity, we were still preserved. We went into the Romans captivity, we still preserved. Now the seventh captivity, which is in Babylon, which is America, which is spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, we still preserved. Like that's just nonsense. Geno Jennings is tripping, man. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. What Geno Jennings need to do is he needs to get in class. Geno Jennings needs to get in class so he can learn. I mean, he was up there butchering the scriptures, but I ain't gonna get too much into that. But that right there eliminates that nonsense. And like I said, after I talked to my sister, she started to think about it. She was like, yeah, that sounds silly. That just, because basically he's saying you ain't even black. You something else. He didn't give it a name. This just sounds silly, right? All right. So now let's go back to Romans. I told you I was gonna give you something else. What did I say I was gonna give you? Oh, right. In the new covenant, right? This how you show there's a difference between us and them, right? In the new covenant, it says in Jeremiah 31 and 34, read that again.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 34.
Come on.
And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor.
So you ain't gonna have to teach every man or his neighbor. You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to teach. You ain't got to do that no more because it's written in our minds. It became like a muscle memory. Read.
And every man his brother.
Come on. Every man is who?
And every man his brother.
Read.
Saying, know the Lord.
Now, a Christian would say, well, the brother is someone that just magically said he's an Israelite and now he's us. So he's the brother. But we know that can't be the case because of verse 36, right? Go ahead.
For they shall all know you, from the least of them until the greatest of them.
So everybody's going to know him from the least to the greatest. Now, is that include other nations? And how could you prove that that's not talking about another nation? Do you know? Perfect precept for this. Isaiah chapter 2. Isaiah chapter 2. This is to show that the new covenant is not even for the other nations. Because remember, it says you ain't got to teach no more. So, but watch this right here. Go to start at Isaiah 2 and 2.
Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the tops of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it.
So it's saying in verse 2, it says, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord, that means the government of the Lord, the kingdom will be established on earth, right? Shall be established in the top of that mountain, right? And shall be exalted above all hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. So now he's saying all nations is going to flow into it. Read.
Verse 3. And many people shall go and say, come ye.
Come what?
Come ye.
Read.
And let us go up to the mountain of the Lord.
Come on.
To the house of God of Jacob.
Read.
And he will teach us.
And he will what?
And he will teach us.
Come on.
Of his ways.
Read.
And we will walk in his paths.
Read.
For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
Read.
And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of beating. Go ahead.
And their spears into pruning hooks.
Come on.
Nation shall not lift up sword against nation.
Read.
Neither shall neither shall they learn war anymore.
Come on.
O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord.
So look, in verse 3, it says, and many shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach. He will teach us. So we're going to be teaching the other nations. We're going to be showing them that, listen, you can't open a Chinese store and have cat and rat and serving it to the people. You can't do that. Any injustice, you can't. We're going to be in charge, and we're going to teach them the rights and the wrongs. Why? Because we're already going to have the laws written in our mind, and the other nations are going to have to be taught. So this is a clear separation to show you that the new covenant can't be for the other nations. It's saying in the covenant, the new covenant, that contract, it states that we're already going to know the law. It's already going to be written in our minds. What you got? You got something?
I was looking around, but this is Zechariah chapter 2, verse 11.
Go ahead.
And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee. And thou shalt know the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto thee. I was just looking around.
Yeah. You said Zechariah 2 and what?
11.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. So no, that what you remember, verse 4 says in Isaiah 2 and 4, it says, and he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many nations, and they shall beat their swords into a plowshare, right? So it's going to be a subduing of the nations first. Like when Yahweh shall return, it's going to be war. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're going to come, he's going to return, they're going to, Esau just going to give over the earth to Yahweh Shah. Yahweh Shah under, by his power, he's going to actually go to war with all nations, all right? So that's let's go back to Romans 9 and 4. So that's how you would break that down. All right. Let's see if we got anything in the chat. In the chat. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Back to Romans 9. So now we established that. We established who the adoption for. Now, why is that important to establish who the adoption for? I just want to touch on that for a minute, because what happens is we began to relate what America does in the to everything. We make America's way of thinking and America's way of life the only way for things to be understood. I was talking to my sister about this just as well. That's a bad thing to think. When you're talking about scripture, you want to really think globally. You know what I'm saying? You want to think globally. I was talking to my son even about women wearing things that pertain to a man, right? And he was saying, well, women can't wear pants. And then I asked him, I said, well, instead of going back and forth with him on it, I said, do you know the difference between a woman's t-shirt and a man's t-shirt? Like if I was to hold up a t-shirt and you look at it, you'll say, oh, that's a woman's t-shirt. And you hold up, oh, that's a man's t-shirt. You don't know the difference between the two. It's the same thing with pants. If you hold up a pair of pants, you tell a woman pair of pants. That's pertaining to a woman. It's made for a woman. It's pants. But I don't know about now. Yeah, now the men want to wear that which pertained to a woman, and the women want to wear that which pertained to a man. That's what the Lord is talking about. He's talking about a woman wanting to put on some my Levi's. You know what I'm saying? Not me wanting to. Now, when a woman puts on a pair of what they call apple. What they call apple bottom jeans? That's for a woman. But you understand what I'm saying? That's for a woman. That's what's pertaining to a woman. So if a woman want to wear women pants, you got to wear women pants. Now, what he said was, well, what about a dress, Dad? I said, well, you got to think globally. You can't just think American. You have to think globally. They wear garments and things in other nations. And here in America, if you see somebody walking through with a one-piece garment set on, with a belt on, just casual, you can look at that as a dress. You really can. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just think America's way is the way that you got to approach it. You have to approach it and reject America's way and any other culture, because there's only one culture that should be risen above all cultures, and that's these scriptures right here. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
All right. So that would show between Isaiah 2 and Jeremiah 31 and 34 and Hebrews 8. It shows that there's even a difference in that. The covenant is for the Israelites, and then afterwards we're going to subdue those nations, right? Then we're going to teach those nations, all right? That's what we're going to do, all right? All right, so let's go back to Romans 9 and 4. So we dealt with the adoption, because the adoption in America is not the adoption of the Most High Power, all right? The adoption is only for who? For the Israelites. And what precept? You can just tell it to me.
You got Hebrews 8, chapter 8, verse 8.
All right, look, I want you to remember this. When you read this, to whom pertaineth the adoption, you want to immediately go to Galatians 4 and 5. You want to immediately go to that because it has the word adoption in it. So because it has the word adoption in it, a Christian can relate to it and see it. All right, and see that this adoption is talking about the redemption of those that was under the first covenant. All right, go ahead. No. And then the glory. We dealt with the glory and the covenants. Now we got to deal with the law. We see who the law is given through just what we just read. We see it. We see there's a separation in it. But give me a precept to show me that just the laws was given to the Israelites. In the Old Testament. You can give it to me. You already gave me Matthew 15 and 24. Give me one in the Old Covenant. You have to have these on deck. You have to have these on deck. You got to have these in your precept book, and you got to be prepared to answer these questions when these Christians ask you, and you got to go right to it. All right. So I'm gonna give you one for the law. You got one? I got one that you need to write it down. Psalms 147, 19 and 20. You got it? Psalms 147, 19 and 20. Read.
Psalms 147, verse 19.
Read.
He showeth his word unto Jacob.
He did what?
He showeth his word unto Jacob.
So he said he showed his word unto Jacob. It doesn't say anyone else. Read.
His statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
He showed his statutes and his judgments to Israel. Read.
He hath not dealt so with any nation.
No, he has dealt with other nations.
He hath not dealt so with any nation.
Come on.
And as for his judgments, they have not known them.
They that have not known them is the other nations. So they don't know all of this. They wasn't given the law. They wasn't given the statutes. They wasn't given the commandments. So that eliminates that. That's what Paul talking about. The new covenant is being manifested. It's being written at that time. The only thing they was going by was the old covenant. All right. And now the promises. Oh man. The promise. How you gonna prove the promises for?
I just seen something, but I don't even remember where I seen it.
All right.
It said something about the promise given to Abraham, my friend.
Right.
But I can't remember.
Okay, so when you're talking about the promises was given to who? Exactly what you were saying earlier. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What's the promise though? What is the promise? And this says promises. I mean, it's so many, right? It's so many. You got, like you said, you got the promise of who salvation is for. You just said one. What you say? The promise of eternal life. Yeah, the promise of the kingdom being established. All those things. So based on everything that we was just going over, it clearly shows that these things are for the Israelites, right? So in Romans 9, what else are you going to use? Oh man. Now, let me get it. Can I get in the game? All right, let me get in the game. You gave me Romans 9 and 4. Now, what I would do is, if I was showing someone that the book of Romans was written to Israelites, I would start in chapter 1. I would start in chapter 1 because, and I would break it down and ask the Christian, you know, it wasn't no chapters. This was a letter. So if this wasn't this was a letter, you go to the beginning of it, the subject matter. Right. So let's go to the subject. Let's deal with the subject matter. Let's go to Romans 1 and 1. We're going to start at Romans 1 and 1, and we're going to go down to verse, for the scribe's sake, we're going to go down to verse 7. And then we're going to look at something else in Romans 1. All right. So now it says, read.
Romans 1 and 1. Paul, a servant of Yahweh,
come on,
called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of Yahweh.
So this is Paul saying he's a servant to Yahweh Mashiach. He's an apostle of they know what these words mean when they read it. The word, what does the word apostle mean?
Like a leader? No.
What does the word disciple mean? You giving him the mic. He like, okay. So the word apostle means one that's sent. The word disciple means one that follows. You understand? So apostle is one that's sent. So he sent them out as apostles, right? So now he's saying, Paul, a servant of Yahweh Mashiach, called to be an apostle. They know this. He was sent, right? Separated unto the gospel of the most high power. Read.
Verse 2, which he had promised before by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures.
So he's saying, listen, these things was promised in the Holy Scriptures. And Paul is saying this. Paul is getting this from where? Where's Paul talking about when he says, which he had promised afore by the prophets in the Holy Scriptures? What Holy Scriptures is he talking about? The Bible wasn't complete. What was he talking about? Remember, the New Testament was being manifested. So what is he talking about? What is he using? What is Paul using?
If I'm not mistaken, Jeremiah. Isaiah.
Oh, he's using all this. Listen, in the book of Romans have over 61 quotes from the Old Testament. All right. So he's using scriptures from everywhere. But how can you prove and show when he says, which he had promised afore by the prophets? What prophets? In the Holy Scriptures. What's Holy Scriptures? I'm about to show you. We're just going to cut the chase. Go to Acts. I gave this precept before. Acts chapter 28 and verse 23. Now, this is Paul in Rome, right? And they gave Paul, they assigned Paul a day to teach, right? Because Paul was a prisoner when he went to Rome. All right, he went there in chains, but when he got there, they assigned him a day. He had a lodge where he lodged, his home, and they gave him a day to teach. This is what it's talking about. Start at verse 23.
Acts chapter 28, verse 23.
Come on.
And when they had appointed him a day.
So they appointed him a day. They gave him a day to teach. Read.
There came many to him into his lodge.
So many people, many Israelites came to him. All right. Where he lodged. Read.
To whom he expounded and testified the kingdom of Yahweh.
So he expounded exactly what we're doing. He's opening up something, and he's going to show you what he's opening up. But we know in Romans 1 and 2 that these are holy scriptures that he's opening up. And he's expounding and he's testifying the kingdom of the Most High Power. Read.
Persuading them concerning Yahushua.
Persuading them concerning Yahushua. Read.
Both out of the law.
Both out of the where?
Both out of the law of Moses.
Both out of the where?
Both out of the law of Moses.
Come on.
And out of the prophets.
Come on.
From morning till evening.
So he was teaching from morning to evening. Now go back to Romans 1 and 2. Read that.
Romans chapter 1 verse 2.
Come on.
Which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures.
Now, what is he talking about? He's
about the law of Moses.
The law of Moses and the prophets. He's using the Old Testament to show the promise that was beforehand that was given to them concerning Yahushua. Remember, look, when the angel came to Mary and told her about Yahushua, she knew that the Messiah was coming. She just didn't know that she would be given the birth to the Messiah. That's what they was waiting on. The faith that these scriptures is talking about when it's saying have faith. The faith is not a global faith. The faith is that the promises that was written in the Old Testament concerning the coming of the Messiah, that's what we have the faith in. Our faith is that what Moses said in Deuteronomy 18 and 18 is coming to pass. With Jeremiah 31 and 30 through 31 through 36 is coming to pass. All of these things, this is, and the Messiah is bringing that. He's the one that's coming to bring that. So that's the faith that we have. All right. So when it says, which he had promised afore by the prophets in the Holy Scriptures, it's talking about the Old Testament. All right, go ahead, read verse 3.
Verse 3. Concerning his son.
Concerning who?
Concerning his son.
Read.
Yahushua HaMashiach, our Lord.
Come on.
Which was made of the seed of David, according to the flesh.
Now, wait a minute. You know what's heavy too? If Yahushua was born the way they say he was born, this magic birth, right? The only reason why I call it magic birth, because I really don't know the word that they be using, immaculate conception or something, whatever. I call it magic. You know, like Mary was just one day sweeping and moving around and all of a sudden, oh, something's going on. That's not what happened. All right. It says, now take these verse 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna read it. It says, Paul, he's the writer of this epistle, a servant of Yahushua Mashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of the Most High Power, right? Which he had promised afore by the prophets in the Holy Scriptures concerning his son, Yahushua Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. So right here, he's showing, number one, that there was a promise in the prophet, by the prophets in the Holy Scriptures, and it was concerning the coming of the Messiah, right? And it says, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. I'm gonna touch this, but I really want to prove that this epistle was written to Israelites, and we're gonna get the subject matter of this epistle. But how could you show verse 3? Because he's saying that somewhere in the Holy Scriptures, it was written concerning his son, Yahushua, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. Where are we going to find that at? Got to get a precept for that, because they're going to say it's magic. Now, nowhere in the New Testament are they arguing about Yahushua came forth from magic. This is an argument that was created later in trying to understand our Holy Scriptures. But which precept would you give? For time's sake, I'm going to give it to you, unless you got it from the writ. All right, let me give it to you for time's sake. Write down this precept. This is 2 Samuel 7. That's where you was at? 2 Samuel 7 and 12 and 13. And then I'm gonna give you a mean one to go with that one. This is one of my favorite precepts for against the virgin, the magic birth. So this is what Paul was talking about when he says in verse 3 concerning his son Yahushua Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. Let's see what he's talking about. 12 and 13. Now, this is talking about David. He's talking to David, talking about David, and he says this, verse 12, read.
2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy father.
What is it talking about right there? What is he saying? And when thy days be fulfilled.
Pretty much when he passes on.
When he getting ready to die. And thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. Read.
I will set up thy seed after
thee. There go that word seed. That word seed means sperm. Read.
Which shall proceed out of thy bowels.
It's going to come out of the bowels. Women don't have that. Women don't have sperm coming forth out of their bowels. Only men have that. They come out of my testicles. Read.
And I will establish his kingdom.
Come on.
And he shall build a house for my name. And I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. So
this is what Paul was talking about. This is what he was referring to. All right, I'm just going to tell you this one. This one is in 2 Chronicles 17 and 11. Write that precept down to go with that. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you how heavy it is and how it takes Mary out of the loop. Let's hit it real quick. 1 Chronicles chapter 17 and 11. It completely takes Mary completely out of a possibility of her having sperm come forth from her bowels. All right. Read.
1 Chronicles chapter 17, verse 11.
Come on.
And it shall come to pass, when thy days be expired, that thou must go to be with thy fathers.
So he's talking about the same thing. He's repeating the same thing. It's about David. When thou go sleep with thy fathers. Read.
That I will raise up thy seed after thee.
So he said, I'm going to raise up thy seed after thee. I'm going to raise up this child after thee. Read.
Which shall be of thy sons.
Shall what?
Which shall be of thy sons.
No, it got to say shall be of thy sons and daughter.
Which shall be of thy sons.
Come on.
And I will establish his kingdom.
This smashes Mary. This takes Mary out of the loop completely, because it's saying that this is going to come forth through the sons. Right? Read.
And I will.
He shall
build me an house, and I will establish his throne forever.
All right. So now let's go back to Romans 1. This is what Paul was referring to when he said concerning his son, Yahushua Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. Read verse 4.
And declared to be the son of Yahweh with power, according to the spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead.
So by the resurrection of the dead, he was established to be the son with that power. All right. According to the spirit of holiness. And that was established when he was resurrected. All right. Go ahead. Read.
Verse 5. By whom we have received grace and apostleship.
So they received that apostleship, having the ability to go out and teach. Yahushua is the one that sent Paul. Ain't nobody, he wasn't raised up by somebody else and then they say, yo, now I'm gonna send you out. Paul is actually an apostle of Yahushua Mashiach. Yahushua actually sent him out. Read.
For obedience to the faith among all nations.
Among what?
Among all nations.
Come on.
For his name.
See, and then Christian gonna say, see, it says for obedience to faith among all nations. Key word is among. It's not saying he's going to all nations and teaching all nations like we read in Isaiah 2. He's saying among all nations. Well, we all know who's among all nations. Israelites. Read.
Verse 6. Among whom are ye also called of Yahushua Mashiach.
So look, here it comes. He says, among whom are you also called of Yahushua? So it's speaking specifically to the Romans now, specifically to them, because this letter is written to them. All right. I'm going to take it from the top real quick. It says, Paul, a servant of Yahushua Mashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel, which is the good news of the most high power, which he had promised which is before by his prophets in the holy scriptures, concerning his son, Yahushua Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the son of the most high power, with power, according to the spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead. Verse 5, by whom we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to faith among all nations, for his name, among whom are you also called. So he's saying this is the calling to the Romans, among whom you also the call of Yahushua. So all that be in Rome. See what it says, to all that be in Rome, beloved of the most high power, look, called to be saints. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Yahushua Mashiach. So right there in verse 7, subject matter. The subject matter is to all that be in Rome, that's beloved of the most high power, called to be saints. So the subject matter of this whole epistle is what? All of those that are in Rome called to be saints. Well, who is a saint in the Bible? I need precept. Who is a saint in the Bible? Because according to the Catholic Church, I don't even know what the requirements is for them to be called saints, but they got all kinds of saints. They got like Saint Green. Oh, they got all these different saints all over the damn place. How is the Bible establishing to be a saint? This right here is so vital because the word saint is in a lot of epistles in Paul's writing. So it'll show you who the saints are. Psalms 50 and 5. Psalms 50 and 5. So remember, the subject matter of the book of Romans, to all that be in Rome, beloved of the most high power, called to be saints.
Psalms 50 verse 5.
Come on.
Gather my saints together unto me.
So gather my saints together to me. Read.
Those that have made a covenant with me.
Those that are made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Well, we already know who that is because we already pulled the precepts for that. We know who he spoke to. We know who he made a covenant with. We know who he does the sacrifices, the services. We know everything right now because we've already went through those precepts. So the book of Romans, this is how the whole book of Romans can be established. Just that simple and that easy. And I'm going to give you one more, right? When it goes and he says to the Jews first and the Gentiles, let's go to that. That's in, I mean, it's so much we can pick apart in here, but where's that at? To the Jews first and then the Gentiles. It's in Romans. I thought it was in Romans. Ain't it? It's not one in Rome. Oh, no, to the Jew first. It's in Romans 2 and 9. You got one in Romans 2 and 9 and 2 and 10. So let's look at that. All right. 2 and 9. Salakia. Romans 2, verse 9.
Romans chapter 2, verse 9.
Let's get it.
Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jews first, and also of the Gentiles.
So now this is saying tribulation and anguish upon every soul of a man that doeth evil, of the Jews first, and also of the Gentiles. How can you cut that? Because this is talking about a judgment. So how would we establish this when it says to the Jews first and also the Gentiles? Tribulation, anguish upon every soul. How does that work? How could you pull a precept to show? I'm gonna give it to you. Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. I think that's Amos 3 and 1. Yeah, read that. This is how you cut that.
Amos chapter 3, verse 1.
Come on.
Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you.
Against you. Go ahead.
O children of Israel.
So he's saying, listen to this word that I speak unto you. Against you, O children of Israel. Read.
Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt.
Come on.
Saying, you only have I known of all families of the earth.
Read it again.
You only have I known of all families of the earth.
Come on.
Therefore will I punish you for all your iniquities.
So he's establishing that I'm only dealing with you. And you I'm going to punish. All right. So let's go back to Romans 2. Now you're going to read verse 10.
Romans chapter 2, verse 10. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentiles.
So now it's saying salvation is speaking about that glory, right? It's speaking about the glory, the honor, and the peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile, right? And then it says, for there is no respective person of the most high power. There's no respective person. Christians love this one right here. There's no respective person, right? How you going to deal with it? How you going to deal? First, deal with verse 10. The glory and the honor and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jews first. Why is he saying to the Jew first?
Those chosen people.
Was the Israelites the chosen people?
No.
So why is this saying is this talking about the Israelites?
Well, you got the southern kingdom.
Okay, all right.
Talking about the southern kingdom.
All right, real quick, how would you prove that? And when I mean by real quick, you got a precept? If you don't, I'll give it to you. All right, so look, I'm gonna give you, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the precept. Zechariah 7 and 12. See, I be having like 2 and 3 precepts for everything. And I don't want to flood you with that. So I'm just going to go right to it. Zechariah 12:7. This is one of my favorite precepts right here. This one right here really cuts Christians to the heart. And it shows that there's a separation between Judah and Israel. All right? It shows that. Zechariah 12:7.
Zechariah 12:7.
Come on.
The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first.
He's going to save who?
The Lord shall also save the tents of Judah first. So
it's saying he will save the tents of Judah first. So the tents of Judah is exactly what you're talking about. It's talking about the southern kingdom, right? We're going to prove that. See, I got to cut it out. Hold on. I'm going to get this one. I'm not going to pull a double precept. All right. Hold that to show the tents of Judah first. Notice it says in plural, the tents of Judah first. Let's see who the tents of Judah is. Go to Ezekiel chapter 37, 15 and 16. And we're going to come back to Zechariah 12:7 after you read that.
You said Ezekiel 15.
Ezekiel 37, 15 and 16. Read.
You said 16.
37 and 15.
15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick.
Salakia, 37 and 15. Ezekiel 37 and 15.
Salakia. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying,
yeah, you there. Verse 16, you there.
moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick.
Come on.
And write upon it.
Come on.
For Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions.
Come on.
Then take another stick and write upon it. For Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions.
So when it talks about to the tents of Judah first, the tents of Judah is talking about Judah and his companions, the children of Israel. All right. So this shows also a separation. All right. But let's go back to Zechariah 12:7. So in the New Testament, the word Jew is for Judah. It's for the southern kingdom. So when it says to the Jew first, Paul is actually speaking about something that was written in the Holy Scriptures. Remember we read in Romans 1? In the Holy Scriptures and in the prophets concerning his son. Well, guess what? Zechariah 12:7 is talking about that salvation, that glory, that honor going to the tents of Judah first. Read that again. Zechariah 12:7.
Zechariah 12:7.
Come on.
The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first.
Come on.
That the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah.
Do not magnify themselves against Judah. And look, they come off of that. If you go to Acts 13 and 40, 13, to prove that 13 and 46, Paul was having a discrepancy between the Jews and the Gentiles, which would be also Israelites. But listen to what Paul said in Acts chapter 13 and verse 46. It goes along with what we're talking about. It says, read.
Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold.
Come on.
And said, it was necessary.
It was what?
It was necessary.
It was what?
It was necessary.
It was necessary. Read.
That the word of Yahweh should first have been spoken to you.
So it should first come to who? Who does that word first go to? Who does salvation first go to?
Judah.
The Jews. This is what Paul talking about. So when he says, then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said it was necessary for the word. Why is he saying it was necessary?
Said the preaching it to the Jews.
Boom, right. Because it went to the Jews first. Read.
But seeing ye put it from you.
So this is, you know how we act. You know how Judite act. You know how the Negroes act. Go ahead.
And judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life.
Come on.
Lo, we turn to the Gentiles.
Lo, we turn to the Gentiles. Because it was necessary based on the scriptures, based on the holy scriptures, that salvation, that good news go to the tent of Judah first. Time check. All right. So let's go back to, what was we at? Romans. So now we understand 9 and 10. We understand that phrase, that quote, Jews first. Jew first. We understand that. When it's saying Jew first, we know that it's talking about Judah. And guess what? We know that it was necessary based prophetically by the prophets in the Old Testament that what? It had to go to them first, that no one magnify themselves against Judah. See how it flows like a river, flows like a river, right? Now it says there's no respect of persons. You got to fit that in there because Chris is going to say, oh, the Most High don't have no respect of persons. Where's the precept for that? The Bible can't contradict itself, right? So what's the precept for that? That's the last one. Y'all going to give me. What you got? What about Nah, you got to give a precept for no respect to person because you want that to flow. And see, that would be a disruption in it. When Christians, they'll say, see, it says right here, God has no respect to persons. Remember, based on what you gave them and showed them in Acts chapter 28, 23, Paul was using the scriptures, the Old Testament, right? Those were the holy scriptures. And look, and in Romans 1, you showing them that's the consistency. So now you have to show them that Paul is still using a quote from the Old Testament. He's saying no respect to persons. Remember, both kingdoms was broken into two and there was beef between the two. The whole idea is to bring both kingdoms back together. And Yahweh shall be the mediator. So I want you to go to Exodus. This is what Paul is quoting. Exodus chapter 2 and verse 25. So when Paul is saying, for there's no respect of persons, he's telling the Jews to stop tripping. Yes, it was necessary for it to come to you first, but now I go to the Gentiles, and you have to allow those Gentile Israelites to come back in. So the covenant is between the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and the Most High has no respect of persons. Judah had respect of persons. They had respect of persons. They was more like, listen, if you wasn't in the land, you wasn't circumcised on the 8th day, I ain't messing with you. I don't care if you are, you is my brother. So they had respect of person. So Paul was quoting this to let them know that the Most High, remember guys, in the Holy Scriptures, the Most High has no respect of persons. He only had respect to Israel. Read.
Exodus 2, verse 25.
Come on.
And God looked upon the children of Israel.
Come on.
And God had respect unto them.
So the Most High has respect unto Israel. He has no respect of person in Israel. You understand? That's what Paul was saying. Now the covenant is allowing Yahweh Shah by his coming. Now he's allowing everyone to come back to into the fold. All right. I think that's about it. Any questions about anything that we went over?
All
right. Any questions online? No questions online. I'm gonna turn the class over to priest and officer Mataziala.
All right, UPK security announcements. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they're all here for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to learn and share themselves with the world. They need transportation, teachable arrangement. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they'll receive counsel from the heads. Tithe, which is a commandment. Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, means 10th in Hebrew, ma'ashra, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Priest fund, free will offer for the priest. It's not mandatory. Whatever money you'd like to donate, put it in that little box right there in the corner of the desk, of the podium here. The little black box. That's for your tithes and your priest fund. And we got a table back there for the bottle. If you donate the bottle, we got a pretty table back there to set it on. All right. And then we have upcoming holy convocations. We have the memorial of blowing of trumpets. It's September 25th. I believe it's on Sunday, right? It's on Sunday. All right. And if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf. That being said, individual Elijah from the Queen stand. We'll give the courtesy salute individual Elijah Shabbat, Elijah, Barak, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh, Shabbat, Barak, Yahweh, Matah, Sarge, we turn to sisters. We're going to get the sister courtesy salute. Sister Elijah, we get the sister courtesy salute. Individual Elijah Shabbat, Elijah, Barak, Yahweh, Shema, Hashem, Yahweh, Shabbat, Yahweh, Matah. That's dismissed.
Get down here to class, 1232 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware.
Shalom, Lord in Christ, to my brothers and sisters, man. Y'all need to come down to 1232 North King Street, where the truth resides, man. ISUPK Delaware. We definitely represent doing some big things.
Right? 202 North DuPont Boulevard in Smyrna, Delaware.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Come and be a part of this rising thing that we got going on here in Delaware.
I hear everybody claiming that they love the Lord and love God and all that. Well, get in here and show it. You know what I mean? The scriptures say faith without works is dead. So if you ain't doing nothing, your faith is dead. So get up and do something. What you need to do is get your ass up and get in the class. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing else. You're sitting home wasting time. Everything is going on around you, and you don't know how to compartmentalize these things. You understand? I'm on my way to class right now, like you should be. You know what I'm saying? Class don't stop for nothing.
Excuse me, I got a question. Somebody give me Romans 13 and 11.
I have a
Khan, this is the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep.
Brother, you need a water?
Thank you.